Hello, hello. This is Kayleen from Universal Astrology and Loving Life with Light. So, thank you for being here. This will probably be, I don't even know how long this is going to be, but what my goal is for today is to figure out what's going on with the solar storm and if and what activity has been going on over the weekend as a little bit of a kind of overall news. Mostly for myself because I do this and I don't know what has been going on over the weekend because I have a very busy life right now. I'm getting ready to move. So, as you can imagine, things are very up and down, and if I'm not sitting in front of my computer, I'm probably not looking at my phone either, is usually kind of like how my life goes. So, I'm going to just kind of do my own research and record it. So I'm going to be researching the sun first, and then I'm going to get down into a little bit of maybe the other activity that's been going on, and I don't know, potentially forecast a little bit some different things. So first of all, I'm going to get up the earthquakes that have been going on, just so that we can see what exactly has been going on. Now, something that can be noted is that the ones that stick up really far away from the earth are deeper, whereas the closer the rings are to the surface, the closer to the surface they were. So we can see that this guy, this 5.5, was much deeper than the rest. If you know much about earthquakes or you follow Sense, highly advised, then we know that there's going to be a little bit of a flow to these earthquakes. So they're going to make their way around, and they're going to shake things up around as they do the round, as the flow of all this contains. So I see a 5.5, a 5.2, a 6.9, a 6.0, a 5.4. These are in the last 4 days. Big deals. Big deals, guys. So, let's see. What's going on with it? Why? What's up with it? I'm going to throw my full screen up, and we're going to start checking out the sun, just straight up. Should I start with Soto or ISOL? Start with Soto. Let's see what we can see with our own naked eyes, and then we might be able to tell what we saw when we look at Sol. Okay. So I know from looking at stuff last night that there are no sunspots. None. Empty. Which kind of sucks because I was actually doing a whole bunch of research on sunspots yesterday. So I went to look at them late at night, and I was down doing my, watching my videos. Thank you, suspicious observers, for all that you are and all that you do. I love your channel. Ben Davidson's awesome. But I was learning about sunspots in regards to weather and earth spots, and so I jumped on. I was gonna be like, okay, let's see those sunspots, son, and they were in it. So, what's that tell you? Or at least, I don't know. We'll have to point out what I've learned more about sometime. Okay, so I'm going to start by looking at the typical Ooh, I think I just heard big the aura is. It's so crazy. It's something coming into view as well. Not seeing, it's this spot right over here that I'm kind of excited to see, this big bulge that's coming over our direction. This guy looks pretty bright and sputtery over here too, to be honest. I see some big loops. But I'm still not seeing, I don't particularly, at least off of that angstrom, see what anything that would be causing a storm, but we still might be just getting the impact from that solar storm last week. This guy is pretty active right here. And this guy is kind of bubbling and erupting as well. But we've got some big loops, huge loops coming out from this active spot right here. Looks, sounds like my little girl just got home. Alright. So we definitely have some corona hole stuff going on up top here. And that's pretty easy to see, to spot. As we've got quite a bit of a black hole up here, and even there's some spots down here that are not too, you know, they're being kind of blocked out too. So we've got this big, now what this means is that this section of the sun is got a lot of area to blow an extra bit of solar wind at us. So it might just be solar wind in itself that is going to throw off some of our stuff. I'm going to redo this search here though, because I'm looking for some particular things. B flare, A flare, A2, 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 A4, A2, A6, A4. Okay. Well, the density's up quite a bit. I've had some fluctuation in speed. It's about the 24th 2 a.m. UTC. So a note about seeing this and a solar wind. So what you're seeing here is the top one is colored by plasma density, and so the blue, the dark blue is at 0, then we have a light blue, which is a little higher, and then we go into the green, yellow, pink, red, and a lot of times the density or the velocity and the speed, things like that, are taken into effect on these different views. So we can see the difference between the blues and the greens. So the sun has these bigger coronal holes on them, which are really just spaces where the looping that we see on the edge of the sun, we have these big loops of positive connecting to negative charges, and they can extend really far out. Well, what they're doing is trying to like collapse down into like the gravity of the sun is trying to pull everything back into itself, trying to reweave its holes. But when you have these loops in areas where that's not happening, you have what looks like holes, because the angstrom of light that we're viewing doesn't see as much activity there, so it shows up as a lack of color. And so those holes, what that means to us is that more particles can come through. There's not anything looping over and catching to bring it back into the sun. So if there's no looping and grouping going on, then there's just spraying and sprouting. And so as the sun turns with a corona hole on a face, it's spraying out more stuff than it is on any of the areas that have any looping or activity going on. So when we have these larger areas, we have more solar wind, and we can see that very clearly in this, because as the sun, as I hit play, it's going to spin around into circles. So there doesn't necessarily have to be any flare or CME or anything like that, because we're still going to get sprayed by a lot of additional solar wind when we see corona holes. So you can pay we'll watch this together now. So here we will start to get hit by a little bit of an additional stream, and here we will definitely be hitting by a little bit of a stream. Starting over. So bang here. So from the 25th to about the 29th, we're going to be traveling through this stuff without stopping. So that's probably where their warnings are coming in for alerts and forecasts, and will affect So it's not jumping him yet, which is good, but it's so quiet. Too quiet. If it goes quiet too long, that's where we see these bigger spikes. So the probability of this K4 index being above a 4 was pretty high. There was like a 25% chance that we would see a KP index of 4 today. So that's why I was keeping a little bit of, I was like, did we have another CME? Did we have a flare? Like, well, what's going on? But I think it's just still the activity or the lack of activity from the sun. I'm going to move on to some earthquakey stuff and see what's been going on there. Oh, check it out. Okay. We've got several deep ones. All very, very deep, more than 100. Some of them almost 200 or 300. They're 4.7s, 4.9s in this area here. This one was also pretty deep at 146 kilometers. So there's a lot of activity on the edges of this particular plate. So another thing that I'm going to go ahead and take the time to check is this is I don't think I've used this on here either, but this is RSOE EDS. So I think this is Emergency and Disaster Information Service. The Hungarian National Association of Radio Distress Signaling and Info Communications, that's the RSOE, operates Emergency Disaster Information Service, EDIS. So that's what we're looking at here. A great resource. This is another way to kind of see what kind of disasters is going on in areas. So it's not only earthquakes, although they're very easy to pick out as the little squigglies, but it also will show us things like floods. This is an accident, a vehicle accident. So it actually goes quite deep. This is explosion. Okay. So that was the Lebanon location, Damascus country, Syria, Middle East on the 24th. Okay, so you know it's got a bunch of stuff in here, just in general. So what I was going, and you can also see very easily the plate boundary maps. This is not into like weather necessarily. So what I'm going to do now is bring up this is earth.nullschool.net. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what I did here is rise up to see what the kind of jet streams are doing in the higher atmosphere instead of just on the surface. So you can see the difference between between that, right? So just something that I like to kind of keep an eye on and learn about, because it's interesting if you were to look at, and we were to have some kind of map like this for the sun. It would be really interesting to see where the loops of the cells and the sunspots and stuff are, in respect to the Earth and these streams, because each of these cycles, each of these spirals here are called a cell. Now some of them operate one direction on the northern hemisphere and the bottom of this hemisphere going the other way. So kind of interesting to see where the activity is of things like earthquakes and whatnot in respect to some of these cells that are going on and where the energy is coming in and leaving from. And we know that solar wind and particles and solar stuff always is coming in. A lot of it enters through the pole or the place in our electric fields. I can't remember what it's called. The bow field, I think. I can't remember what it's called. Where a lot of this stuff enters in. So the northern hemisphere or close to it, and the southern hemisphere or very close to it has a lot more of these particles kind of coming in when we have stuff going on. So when we know that we're in the middle of going through a bunch of charged particles and solar wind and being blasted with that stuff from the sun, that we are going to receive some of it into our atmosphere and into Earth's core. And these streams, these airstreams and things are way up in the atmosphere, are going to have a difference, especially in regards to the pressure differences. So some of these cells are going to suck in part of that energy, and some areas are actually going to push away that energy, and cycle it around into different systems. So higher up in the atmosphere, we can really see where those cells are and what they're doing. Now, if we were to look at this from a weather perspective, then we can understand how weather definitely plays a role in our daily lives. Obviously, weather is something that we like to watch to know whether it's a nice day to do this or a bad day to do that. So we have some lightning going on in these areas here. Now, last week there was some tropical storms and stuff going on, so I'm going to pull up one more Earth map just because, you know, I can, and see what's up with it. So these storms over here are gone, but we've got some coming up into here still. Another one here. And this guy right here. So going back in time. To the 22nd. And it's this storm here and this guy here. So we're gonna go forward in time now and kind of see this guy develop. And then, since wow, such a difference when they're doing it in daytime, huh? How sprawling these lines are around this thing. It's the spiral of the action and stuff always just like amazes me. And here we're starting to see some kind of bubbling, and to me that would indicate probably lightning, because right now this is in current time. Yeah, there's a lot of lightning caught up in this as well. Especially now. So this was yesterday. This is into today. This is the tip of Florida right here, and I'll give you guys some kind of reference. Now, since we've watched this area for a moment and can see kind of what it's bringing and where, see, it's gonna charge over and hit, looks like on Wednesday, and make its way over into the States here. So when were these guys? This was a 3.0 on the 24th, a 2.8 on the 24th, and a 2.7 on the surface at only 2 km. All within about an hour from each other. And that's today at 10 UTC time. -7 would be about 3 a.m. in my time. Actually, that might be showing because it says UTC -7 right next to it. So that actually might be translated into my time at 10 a.m. So I guess the last part, the astrologer in me wants to know, okay, so it's close enough. I'm going to leave it at Seattle, and we'll go to hour 10. And take a look at the cartography, just real quick. So it's running over this. It looks like the North Node. But soon to follow here is going to be Venus, and I bet you this is Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. Let's go 1 hour earlier. Yeah, so 1 hour earlier, this North Node line was approaching, and all of this stuff was happening. And running through that, and down this other side. Let's see if I can't. Here, or is it here? No. Storm chasing is here. Oh, I'm so lost. Where are we at here? I'm gonna have to get to where I can see. Okay, yeah, here. This guy. So 21st. So this guy started to form days ago. 20th, 21st, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and it's coming in. So let's look at the 20th and see where these lines were. Right here. So, mind you, I'm not changing the time of day much when I'm going back and forth between the dates. And it shouldn't. But that's the thing, is the lines do slowly make their way into different arrangements day by day. They're pretty much passing over the same places, just different by small, minor degrees. Over time, these lines definitely change course, and as the planets spread out around the sun. However, we've got these gnarly groupings right now between the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter mix. So those lines, when they cross over, they're all crossing over the same time at the same time in the same place, because to us they look like they're hanging out in the same place. So when we spin and go around and we pass, and they pass over certain land areas of our ball, our globe, they're hitting about the same times every day, slow courses of time that changes. So I just find it really kind of interesting to compare and contrast where the motions of the planets are leading some of these events, because day by day they progress, they get a little bit faster. The degrees changes not faster in the way that, but it looks like they do. If we were to do this same day, we could, so we'll just do an experiment. So it is, I have this set on 8:20 at 9. But if we close this and we go like to a new month, same time, same date, just a new month. So Venus scooted back a little bit. It doesn't move as fast. But the others, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, super freaking slow. This grouping is going to be together until they spread out, and then we'll see these lines spread out and not be so close together. But until then, when that group of planets passes over us, we're going to see this grouping, and that's a really powerful grouping when it comes to astrometeorology and classic astrology and bringing it into life and as science. They're all grouped together, so we're going to have those powers impact us. And Jupiter and Mars and Uranus and the moon are really, really watched for meteorology effects. So we've got Jupiter alone is a huge impact on us. It's the biggest planet in our system, so anywhere that Jupiter passes over, we can expect some kind of effect. Mars is very similar too. We see a lot of effect from Mars lines. So if we were to find that Mars line, I think it's this one. That one might be the sun though. Let's check. It is this one right here. Boop, 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 is a Mars line. So it's been maybe playing effect over there into Alaska more than this Jupiter stuff is, because if you think about it, throughout the day, all of this passes over, all of it, because we spin. So there's no point in time in which, there's no. I'm losing my words. I should probably stop. Anyways, so that's a little bit about what's kind of going on, and I think I'll do a little bit more research on it myself and report if I need to, but I would definitely be expecting an increase in activity over the next couple of days, and after the charge up with the solar activity and the wind that we're going to be going through the next couple of days, as we saw in the wind map forecasting models, we're going to see everything get charged up and then release more of this activity like we see in earthquakes and stuff. So I will be back tomorrow with a daily episode, and thank you for following the channel and supporting me along this journey. I hope you guys are doing super well and having a good time. I will be back. All right. Peace.